A very good evening all. I'm Aditi Lamba with the Thursday night edition of South Asian News. Welcome to Vision of Asia, Voice of Our Community. We are coming to you from our studio located in New York City. Here's what's happening tonight in the coronavirus pandemic. More than 1.13 million deaths from the novel virus globally, with tonight at more than 41.4 million cases in the world. Cases of COVID-19 are rising across Europe, with the continent now in its second wave, and has led to some countries to implement new restrictions. In the United States, we are looking at nearly 8.4 million cases of COVID-19 with more than 222,000 deaths. Experts are saying that this fall and winter will likely see the virus's worst surge yet in the nation, with yesterday recording the highest daily death toll. 31 states are dealing with more new COVID-19 cases this week, with states such as Alaska, Colorado, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Michigan, Montana, New Mexico, Ohio, Utah, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. And recorded number of deaths were reported in Kentucky, Montana, Nebraska, Oklahoma, South Dakota, and Wisconsin. Also today, a report released by Columbia University estimated that between 130,000 to 210,000 COVID-19 deaths could have been avoided in the United States, and criticized the federal government's response to the pandemic. Meanwhile, U.S. health officials at the CDC, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, redefined what counts as a close contact with someone with COVID-19, saying that shorter but repeated contacts that add up to 15 minutes over a 24-hour period now counts. So we all need to continue being cautious and socially distance ourselves, along with good hand hygiene and, most importantly, mask wearing. On vaccine today, Moderna Inc. announced a crucial step in its progress of COVID-19 vaccine, saying that it has now secured all 30,000 participants for its phase 3 study, more than a third of whom are of color. And again, we are less than 2 weeks away from the crucial November 3rd presidential election, along with many other races on the ballot this year. So make sure to vote this year and get your voice counted. Go to vote.org for more information on voting locations and much more, but please vote in 2020. It is so important. With that, let's begin tonight's episode encompassing much on these elections 2020 with officials and more. Here are the headlines. Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams addresses COVID-19 clusters and elections 2020 in New York City. Morris County Republican Committee honors Mickey Chopra business owner, Randolph, New Jersey. Political strategist Pallavi Purkayastha addresses Election 2020 and South Asian Voice, Georgia. It's time for a short break on Vision of Asia, Voice of the Community. We'll be back shortly. And welcome again. I'm Aditi Lamba, and this is Vision of Asia, Thursday night episode of South Asian News. Looking at politics now, tonight President Donald Trump and Democratic nominee, former Vice President Joe Biden will face each other in a debate for the last time before the election. But with less than 2 weeks left before this election, eyes are on issues such as immigration, racial justice, the economy, healthcare, women's rights, and much more. Yesterday, former President Barack Obama delivered a critique of President Donald Trump in his debut on the 2020 campaign trail, denouncing his successor's handling of the coronavirus pandemic and his inability to protect himself and others. This took place at a drive-in rally for Joe Biden in South Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He said that we've got to turn out like never before. We cannot leave any doubt in this election. A day earlier, President Donald Trump delivered remarks at a rally in Erie, Pennsylvania, making the state a big battleground for both parties. So how should we analyze these two campaigns, and who are these South Asians aligning with? We spoke to political strategist Pallavi Purkayastha, discussing much on what's at stake. Here is what Pallavi shared with us on ITV Gold. Right. Looking at the South Asian community here in the United States and the Indo-Caribbean communities and just entirety of the subcontinent, are we voting, Pallavi, according to you? And what issues are the most concern when you're looking at the South Asian population, besides healthcare, of course?
Yeah, and we are. We haven't been the best in the past. Asian Americans as a whole, we are the fastest growing demographic in Georgia, and we have probably the lowest voter turnout percentages. That is changing. We are seeing, since Trump got elected, an increased just opinions on politics and an increased need to be civically involved. So we are getting there. It could be a lot better, but I do understand that casting a ballot is not the most accessible thing to people. You have to go out and understand the system. You have to understand who you're voting for. You have to understand, what does a state house person even do? What is the difference between a state senator and a US senator? We have to teach ourselves this entire process before we can even teach ourselves how to vote. And I understand that that could be a hurdle. In terms of what is important to us, I mean, I will have to reiterate that healthcare is important to us. Education is very, very important to our communities. And you saw in the past legislative days in 2019, I apologize, in 2020, that the Republican Party took the lead on cutting $1 billion, billion with a B, from K through 12 education. So making sure that our schools are fully funded, that we have access to colleges. Education is a massive deal to a lot of people who choose to move to areas solely because they have good public schools. And now when you're taking money away from those public schools, our kids are going to hurt, our future generations are going to hurt. I have also seen an increased amount of opinions on the Black Lives Matter movement. I am seeing people come out and say police brutality is wrong. And when police who do wrong aren't held accountable, that hurts everybody. Right. That hurts us as a community. And I'm seeing so many people from our communities who wouldn't normally touch any racial issues now come out to protest, now bring a banner that says Black Lives Matter, now come out and say, you know, no matter what your skin color, we should all be treated equally with equal dignity under the law. So those are the three things that I'm seeing people talk a lot about. And it's exciting to see all of that energy translate into high voting numbers.
Let's talk about these two campaigns that are happening right now, Pallavi. Very different styles of campaigns on both sides. President Trump is going around the nation. He's hosting rallies. Some are wearing masks, some are not. Former Vice President and the Democratic nominee, Joe Biden, is hosting it mainly virtually and is addressing audience, but has taken a different approach. What have you felt about these two campaigns, separately, and do you think they're appealing to their voters?
Well, you're seeing all of that kind of trickle down the ballot. I'm working for a candidate in Johns Creek in Georgia, Angelica Couch, who's the current elected representative, and we have suspended all in-person events. We are not knocking on doors. We're not having face-to-face conversations. On the other hand, her candidate is going from door to door without a mask on. And that kind of shows that whatever, our top ballot nominees are doing, it's kind of trickling down to the very local level. You have a state house candidate who, without wearing a mask, is going from one door and knocking on it, having a conversation, going to the next door, maybe being a carrier without even knowing it. He has no idea if the person who opens the door is immunocompromised, but that's not mattering to him because that is the branding of their party now. So we're seeing two very different campaigns, but this is not just a political tactic, right? This has very real life ramifications. If a person is going door to door to door and they're taking a virus in the middle of a pandemic, we're nowhere close to the end of this. We don't have a vaccine yet. It's going to hurt families. It's going to hurt people. And I hope it doesn't, but it might kill somebody if you transmit this disease to them. So we're seeing two very different campaigns. But it's not just President Trump and Vice President Biden, it's people down the ballot and how people choose to make themselves either responsible or they choose to make themselves a brand of somebody who is in the same party of Donald Trump.
We have now highlights from the Morris County Republican Committee's Fall Oktoberfest, which saw much entertainment and award ceremony in a socially distant event. The occasion brought together Republican leaders of Morris County and across New Jersey and supporters of the Republican Party ahead of the crucial November 3rd elections. A great aspect of Fall Oktoberfest was the recognition of Indian American business owner Mickey Chopra. Morris County Republican Chairwoman Laura Alley presented Mickey Chopra with the Outstanding Morris County Business Owner Award for all his contributions to the community and shedding light on Indian Americans in New Jersey. Here are some highlights of the event, which also saw John Pence as a guest of honor. John Pence is a senior advisor for President Trump's 2020 presidential campaign and is also the nephew of Vice President Mike Pence. Here is the story from Randolph featuring several Republican leaders.
First of all, thank you, ITV Gold, to covering this event. This event was organized by Morris County Republican Committee. Thank you to Laura Ali. We also have a John Pence here, who's a nephew of Vice President, who came to bestow the award. I'm being honored for Small Businessman of the Year in Morris County. By doing a lot of community work and other things that are going on in the town and all over the city. We do a lot of food drives, so we just wanted to thank you everybody for coming down. We had a Doug Steinhardt came in. We have a John Bramnick here, Laura Ali, my hometown mayor, John Mulligan was here. So we had a lot of support, which is very good. I'm very proud to be. I have my own family here, my daughter, my son. They both were here to support me. We had people all over from Morris County came in to support. And I thank again to ITV Gold to doing the coverage. And thank you. And have yourself a very, very good night. Thank you.
I'm here to support Mickey Chopra, who's an outstanding, incredible business person, citizen, and great human being. I'm here in Randolph to support the Randolph Republican Party and to salute America. I'm John Bramnick. I'm the Assembly Republican leader, and I'm very proud to be part of such a great evening here in Randolph, New Jersey.
Now we're looking at a red tide, and it's got to come through. It's got to come through to support our president, to support our local candidates, our congressional candidates, and people who want to be like Mickey and have the future that he had in this country, the past and future that he has now in this country, because he worked so hard, he went through so much, and he continued to struggle. My family had that same kind of story. My father was born here in this country from Poland. He had nothing handed to him. He had to survive through everything on his own. He had to put himself through school. He had to build a business. So when I hear somebody like Mickey who lived through the same thing and watched him succeed, it's fabulous. And I'm so proud to be here tonight to honor this man and to count him as a friend. And I also want to thank ITV Gold for being here tonight and for having me and Mickey and everyone that has spoken earlier tonight.
So, you know what, we're having a terrific event here tonight. This is the Morris County Republican Party, and we're so happy. We've had an amazing turnout, but we also had John Bramnick, who gave us a great comedian show. We had a lovely gentleman who received a small business award, and now we have John Pence. John Pence, the nephew of Vice President Pence, who's here speaking to us about the president's goals, his future, and his accomplishments. And we have folks that are completely charged up to go out tomorrow and make sure that we do everything we can here in New Jersey to help win these races.
Hi, I'm Tom Mulligan, Mayor of Rockaway Borough, New Jersey, and I'd like to thank ITV Gold for this opportunity to speak on behalf of Mickey Chopra, who we're here tonight to celebrate as the Small Businessman of the Year in Morris County, given to by the Morris County Republican Committee. You know, we are here tonight honoring Mickey, but also the leadership of the Republican Party in Morris County, as well as Mr. Pence, who is speaking right now. You know, Mickey and I have been together many years, within Rockaway Borough, with our children, within recreation, obviously myself growing, through the town into politics, but also watching Mickey grow as a businessman and the leader he is today. I would like to thank ITV Gold once again for this.
Thank you to ITV Gold for coming out to Morris County. We're so honored to have Mickey here tonight with us and receive our first ever award for the Small Businessman of the Year. We're so proud of him. He's a great, great friend. He's a wonderful, wonderful human being and a brilliant business owner, and he contributes significantly to the Morris County economy. So we're really proud to offer him this award tonight. We think it's the beginning of a lot of great things in his future. So thank you. So we're thrilled to have this many people from Morris County. We know it's a crazy time with the COVID and all kinds of stuff going on, but we're really excited about the election. We're excited to get people together. We're excited to have people collaborate and bond and talk about the future and hopeful things.
I'm from Jefferson Township, New Jersey in Morris County, and I'm supporting Bob Birmingham, Jay Dunham, and Ron Smith for the Township Council. These are folks that are going to put Jefferson first. They put their community first. They put the their neighbors above politics, and I am going to support them 100% on Election Day. And I hope you return your ballot as soon as possible for Bob Birmingham, Jay Dunham, and Ron Smith for Township Council. So my name is Jade Kohut. I'm the chairperson from Jefferson Township. I'm the chair of the Jefferson GOP. And like I said, I'm going to be supporting Bob Birmingham, Jay Dunham, and Ron Smith for Township Council. They're phenomenal people, and they're going to put your community first.
It's time for a short break on Vision of Asia. Voice of the Community will be back shortly. And welcome back. This is Vision of Asia, the South Asian news segment, and I am Aditi Lamba. Let's take a look at New York City, which has recently seen clusters of COVID-19 across Brooklyn and Queens. Governor Andrew Cuomo has now realigned the cluster zone maps, announcing that virus control measures are intensified in Brooklyn's red zone, given the ongoing infection rate and compliance issue there. These zones have not seen non-essential businesses close, along with public schools shut due to positivity rates in the area. However, now the outbreaks have been contained enough to allow Brooklyn's orange zone and all zones in Queens to be downgraded to yellow, which allows businesses to reopen as soon as today, with schools resuming Monday in those yellow zones, which now have under 2% positivity rate. The red zones, however, remain unchanged. This is happening while we are coming close to the elections on November 3rd, with much on healthcare, COVID-19, and the economic crisis at stake in this election cycle. So what do New Yorkers need to know right now on coronavirus measures? And how are they voting? We spoke with Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams, gaining more insight into COVID-19's impact on Brooklyn and the importance of voting this year. Here is Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams addressing the South Asian American community. What do you have to say about Mayor Bill de Blasio and his handling of the situation right now? I know you were a little critical about his handling of the education system as well. I would love to get some insight into that.
Well, this was an extremely difficult situation. And if I have to say that any mayor who would have basically absorbed the thrust of a formidable opponent, COVID-19, that changes on many different levels, a lot of uncertainties, and you have to be able to respond as rapidly as we were learning about this new pandemic. And so we have to really understand the complexities of it. I think that my basic critique of what has happened is the lack of communication, consistency, and coordination between the state and city government. It's unfortunate, as I stated, we did not receive the financial support, even in the area of the PPPs, the money that came from the federal level. But at the same time, I believe we need to shift our cities into a real-time mechanism that we could better handle crises. We have to, as a city and cities across America, we must manage our assets, have an equitable distribution of resources, and the key is in real time. We didn't do that. Far too many communities did not receive resources in an equitable fashion. Many of our safety net hospitals, which are the hospitals that you treat the poorer communities, were not receiving the same level of resources. And so we did not have a fair distribution of resources in real time, and we failed to manage our assets in an appropriate fashion.
Let me ask you something real quick in following up to that. How long do you think it'll take you to get those needed resources? How many months are we looking at?
Well, we need to put it on fast track. I know that here in the city, we started having small manufacturers open businesses where we're making personal protection equipment, hospital gowns. There's a great initiative of a small company in the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and there are other companies that are opening. We should incentivize the repurposing of everything from tailor shop to seamstress shops. I think there's a great opportunity to really play a dual role, infusing real resources in the economy by small businesses, and at the same time, creating the supplies we need to help us weather if there's a second surge of coronavirus.
That's such an important perspective. I'm sure the audience learned a lot from this. Let's now talk about the elections. Since I have you here, I have to ask you a couple of questions on that. My first question to you has to be about the borough of Brooklyn. Do you think they're voting right now? And if so, what issues, according to you, matter the most to the borough currently?
Yeah, I think the entire country is looking forward to the election, no matter who one is deciding to vote for. The exercising the right to vote, having a board of election system that is fair, that is competent to count every vote is crucial. But when you look at the issues that are important, people are really concerned with public safety. We have an overproliferation of handguns in our city that's leading to a real crime problem, and people are concerned about that. They're also concerned about the safety of our city. How healthy is our city to ensure not to be infected or spread coronavirus, and to make sure we have the hospital care for anyone who's actually infected by COVID-19. And lastly, employment. They're concerned about the economic status and the economic strength of our city. We have to get our small businesses up and operating again. Over 50% of the employment in our city comes from small businesses. They're the lifeblood of our city, and even the micro businesses that we're seeing going through a very difficult time. You know, it's predicted we may lose anywhere from 30 to 40% of small businesses. That is something that would really devastate our economy, and we must infuse resources and support in our small businesses.
Here is a shout out now for a moving documentary, A Pandemic, Away from Motherland by filmmaker and Indian American Sweta Rai. The film documents doctors here in the United States involved in coronavirus frontline away from their families in India. Here is the trailer of A Pandemic Away from Motherland by Sweta Rai.
Year 2020. A pandemic began. A pandemic that showed us the real heroes, the warriors, the frontline workers. A pandemic that separated them from their families.
Hello.
Hello, Papa.
I had been diagnosed with the coronavirus.
I have stayed away from family for a long time.
There is a high risk of getting this virus, and doctors are certainly at the forefront.
2 hours every day I'm doing puja for that, and I'm so worried and really apprehensive about how they are dealing with these COVID patients.
A pandemic that left them in fear.
There is a sense of fear.
There is this kind of fear. What if we get it, or if we die from this one?
I've started getting these nightmares, and I feel, sometimes that somebody's strangulating me in the night time.
A pandemic that separated them from their motherland.
Definitely taking the first flight back when it's safe, and I really want to go back to India.
They are elderly, so they are higher risk.
Hey Mom, I miss you.
A pandemic which is a remembrance of their good times.
One of the first things that the patient said to me was, Dr. Borough, thank you for not giving up on me.
मरीजों का चिकित्सा करना तो तुम्हारा काम भी है और धर्म भी है.
So it's about 10:45. I just got back from work. Did some high-risk procedures on some of the COVID patients. I thought I'll bake some brownies for my team because they really were great.
And then once this surprise happened, you can see the enthusiasm came back to her.
The darkness of night prevailed. They lit the candle of hope. A pandemic away from the motherland.
Well, this wraps up our show for the night. Remember to send us your suggestions and get your voices and organizations on our show. Email us on events@itvgold.com or follow us on Facebook at itvgold. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch many of our popular shows for free. Thank you for joining us tonight from Queens, New York. This is Vision of Asia, and I am Liti Lamba. Please go out and vote.